Now to our top story this morning. And Prince Harry is set to appeal a High Court ruling that found the government had acted lawfully when revoking his right to automatic police protection in the UK.
The Duke of Sussex could have to pay more than £1 million in legal bills. Now, he took the government to court back in February 2020, claiming he faced significant security threats whilst in the UK.
Well, joining us now is former Royal Butler Grant Harrold. Very good morning to you, Grant. What do you make of all of this?
Good morning, ladies. Well, I've obviously been reading and hearing about the news with what's been happening. I'm not hugely surprised with the outcome. I do understand what he's trying to say. Obviously, being a former senior member of the royal family, he feels that he should have the same security because just because he's no longer a senior member of the royal family, it doesn't mean to say those threats suddenly stop. But as no longer being a senior member of the royal family, obviously the royal household are looking at, along with the Met Police, are looking at the way it's funded and obviously decided there has to be cutbacks, which is not highly unusual. If you look at other members of the royal family, some of them don't even get royal protection if you look at Princess Anne's children. So it's not highly unusual, but he also, correct me if I'm wrong, he offered to pay the Met in order to keep that protection. Of course, that's just not allowed. Otherwise, we could all do that. So he's always going to be very disappointed. And I think his argument is that being, in his eyes, obviously a senior member of the family, even though no longer a senior working member of the family, he should still be entitled to that protection for him and his family.
And as you suggested there, Grant, even though he has stepped back as a senior member of the royal family, is the risk to him not the same as it was? In fact, could it be argued it's even greater because of what he wrote in his memoir Spare about the Taliban, about the action he took against the Taliban?
Absolutely. I mean, I completely hear what he's saying because, you know, the reality is we're saying that even though he's stepped back, it doesn't change who he is. It doesn't change the fact that his father is the king, his grandmother was the queen. You know, it doesn't change any of that. And if somebody decided to, for whatever reason, try to have a go at a member of the royal family, he's not a sitting target, but potentially he's not got the same security, say, as his brother and his sister-in-law. So he is obviously arguing that he should have it. And there is an argument there. But again, I think a lot of people will understand from the royal household and the Met side that this costs money. And without getting facts and figures, it's not the cheapest thing having this kind of security. So there is a reason for them saying you can't have that. It's a shame there's not a middle ground somewhere, and I don't know what that middle ground would be. But just to quickly mention that when Harry was in, for example, in the UK recently, you'd have noticed there was a lot of security around him. Obviously, we saw him when he was off to see his father. He will get that protection that's entitled to him when he's in those kind of environments. But I think the problem is if he's in the UK doing his own thing, that's where this comes into question. This is where then his security is not the same as when he's with other members of the royal family.
And how do you think Prince Harry will be reacting to this? Because we understand that he is set to appeal, but we did get some insight, didn't we, in that 52-page ruling yesterday, that apparently Prince Harry had demanded to know the name of the person in government who was responsible for this decision. Well, that indicates that he's very angry about this.
Yeah, the thing I remember about Harry, and one of the things I think I've always said the whole way along, I sit in the fence in a lot of these kind of debates between what goes on with Harry, but I remember Harry being somebody that was always, I liked his character, I liked the fact that he didn't take any nonsense, he stood up for himself. That's something I always used to witness. And as an adult, obviously with his wife and children, he feels very protective. I'm sure that is why he feels angry. And want to know the name of the person. It is, as you said, this is him very angry. He wants to know who it is. He probably wants to hold them responsible. And you can guarantee that, God forbid, but if something ever did happen, those are the people he'll be holding responsible because he will say this is what he tried to warn everybody. And tell me again if I'm wrong, I think last year there was some sort of a car chase. And again, he was not using it, but I think he was kind of saying this is why there's dangers. And I think at the time people were saying this is very similar to what happened to his mother a few decades earlier. And we all know how that ended up.
Yeah, although I think at the time when we got into the nitty-gritty of what happened there was a suggestion that maybe the facts had been slightly embellished by Prince Harry.
Absolutely. But I think this is the thing. I don't want to say clutching at straws, but I think he is trying to look at anything that's happened in recent years as evidence to kind of try to say, not as evidence, but for his side to say, this is why I need that protection. And look, as I say, I understand it. I mean, I've got a few friends that are quite well known, and there's risk for all of them as well. There's another member of the royal family that I work with that I know. She has absolutely no royal protection, so it's a tricky one. And of course, as I mentioned, the royal household and the Met, they won't take it lightly. They will take this seriously, but they're obviously trying to make the right decision based on the family, based on them, and also based on what us, the taxpayer, what's going on for us, because obviously we have a say, and I think there'll be a lot of people out there who potentially will feel that he is no longer entitled to that protection.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants the protection, he can have it, but we shouldn't have to pay for it.
Absolutely, and I think that is again, he was kind of hinting at initially when he said he would pay for it. And when I did a little bit of research into it, obviously you can't pay for it, and I think that's where maybe again he felt that he kind of hit the wall, because I think he thought that I can pay for it, everybody would be happy, straightforward and simple. But as I said, if he could do it, it means that you or I could, we could all do it, and that's not really why the system's there.